You add to that the 10 to 20% attrition rates, and we talk about maintaining the organizational DNA, knowing who you are, knowing, you know, every bit of the organization, knowing what you are. How do you actually preserve that if in 2 years you actually have completely different set of people working for you? Arvind, do you wanna start on this?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think as Lou mentioned, and as everybody is in agreement, size is important in this industry. It gives stability, it gives visibility, it gives comfort to customers. And so I think growth is an integral part of being in business. It's not just a question of providing shareholder value, but it's also a question of survival. You've got to continuously keep growing. And in our context, what we're really seeing is, on one hand, there's growth, and growth is resulting in issues on the supply side where, number one, you've got to bring in new people into the organization. And if you're bringing in new people to the organization, there are others in the industry also who are bringing in new people, and therefore taking your people into their organizations, and that's contributing to the attrition. And so what really happens is that you have a new set of people coming into the organization continuously, and a third of your organization will probably be always, new people. And therefore, it's extremely important, as I think some of the panelists mentioned, that you maintain the DNA, which is essentially your unique culture. And the way we do it in our organization is pretty much by getting everybody who's getting inducted continuously being subject to and educated on the core values of the organization. And for that, what we've done is really created a document, which is what Harsh was kind of showing. It's interesting that for a large organization like Accenture, that's a little small piece of paper. For a smaller organization, a little bigger piece of paper. But, we created this document, which we call the vision document. And this we did way back in the mid-80s. I don't know how many of you remember the mid-80s, but it was a very interesting debate we had in the company at that time when we were setting out these set of statements. Because in the mid-80s, the management philosophy, which was continuously being propounded, was that the customer is king. We all know that the customer is king, but we were a services organization. And when we were setting out these set of statements in our vision document, we were wondering whether we should put the set of statements associated with our people first, or a set of statements associated with our customers first. And it was a big call. And we finally put a set of statements associated with our people first. And we said, NIT is people, and then we wrote a few statements, and we said, NIT it provides value, and we put a set of statements, and we said, NIT contributes to society, and we put a set of statements. And the reason why we put people, the set of statements associated with people first, because in a service organization, it's the experience, which the end customer gets out of engaging with your people, which is what is the true experience, that you get. And so these set of statements are the values and beliefs of the organization, and it's absolutely mandatory for everybody getting inducted into the organization to be completely aligned with those values and beliefs. And that's how you because a company can change its shape, a company can move into different businesses, but what is its essential characteristic is defined by this vision document, which is its values and beliefs. And I think it's very important to have that and have a process in the organization to make sure every individual in the company understands that.
Thanks. I think I had,
sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. Just to share an experience of mine, I started with something which only 250 people, easy, right? And we sat down and worked out what we stood for. For the first 3,000 people that we hired, every Monday morning was the only time they would join, and I would address them personally. Take them through the document that we've spoken about, but tell them what it means and give them examples. And as we started growing up and we were on the same ramp up of 40%, 50% growth, it became impossible. And then it became a document, it became a PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint was there. Now I challenge that you look up any of us on this dais here and look at our values and system, they will have people, customers, stakeholders, right? And all the good words, the order would change, right? It would be the same. And if we hired people from various organizations, they look at the document and think, how is it different? So I think in our story, where we are growing at 40 to 50%, you have no choice. The CEO has no choice but to create 10 other clones of his who have the same passion and the same belief. And they, what I would have done in my first 3,000 hires, do it for the next 3,000 and 3,000 and cascade it beyond an induction program. Because it's in the folder, it's on the wall, it's all over, and you find it very difficult to take it out. So they must believe that there is practice, there is evidence of practice, otherwise the DNA doesn't get built.
Thanks. Kamal, what is your experience on this?
Yeah, couple of comments. One is that 20% attrition is a reality. But what we need to look at is that we need to look at an 80-20 rule. There are 20% people who you would just not lose. And these are your people who are at a team lead level or a project manager level or higher leadership level. So what we try to do is make sure that this 20%, we do whatever we need to do to make sure they are there in the system. And we have very low, almost zero attrition on those people. That is one way we preserve the DNA of the organization. I mean, that's the way we handle it.
Okay, thank you. Harsh?
Several points. I agree with the point that my colleagues here have made about showing examples of what this culture means. And it's because actions speak louder than words. So in our culture at Accenture, one of the primary expectation of every leader, and I don't mean just the top 6, 7 people, but people who have significant responsibility for people, A, they are expected to develop the people and take responsibility for it, and B, they are expected to act in ways, in inspiring ways, in upstanding, forthright ways, straight talk, straight thinking kind of things, so that the young people who are aspiring want to be like them, act like them, think like them. Now, we are not saying straitjacket, but to show the quality of the values and thinking, and that's the strength of our culture. The other thing is that this whole business about culture and values, it's a contact sport. I mean, the reason we write it down in fine print, actually it's more urban than you think, but we managed to squeeze it down and put in pictures. But it is that it provides a distillation and a common ground, but ultimately it has to reflect in behaviors. And these behaviors are learned behaviors and demonstrated behaviors. So we watch that very carefully, and it's a very important part of our leadership development process. And we also, we also watch very carefully how people are feeling. So we have measurements, etc., and very quick processes through touch to understand what's on people's minds. And finally, what I would say is that our core competency, we feel, is essentially the ability to attract and retain and develop and grow the best people on the planet by offering them careers. And when you have people in careers, then culture becomes more powerful, it takes root.
Right. Thanks, Harsh.